Welcome to the CAD Office Training Guide video series for FDOTConnect. I am James Worley, CAD Sports Specialist. In this video series, I will be going through the Pond Design and Plans Development Training Guide. I will take you step by step through each exercise from the training guide. This video will feature Chapter 1, Pond Design. The objective of this video is to provide the viewer with a general understanding of OpenRoads designer technology that can be used to design and model drainage ponds. It will not attempt to instruct on proper engineering methodologies for pond design. That is beyond the scope of this video. Topics that will be covered in this chapter include creating the pond design file, placement of the PondCntl line, use of the pond design linear template, pond design changes, creation of the pond design surface. Let's get started. Exercise 1.1. Create the pond design file. In order to create the pond design file that will be used to lay out and design the example pond for this manual, double-click on the FDOTConnect for OpenRoads Designer icon on the desktop. Once ORD's backstage is open, make sure the workspace is set to FDOT and the workset is set to 220495552001_CE. With that verified, click on the Browse button to open the blank file DGN in the root of the current project directory. Verify the workflow is set to the OpenRoads modeling workflow and switch to the FDOT tab. On the FDOT tab, choose the Create File tool. This will open the Create File dialog box. Switch the Discipline to Drainage and the File group to Drainage Design Files. Select the PDP LRD Pond Design entry in the File Type list. Notice how the output file information automatically changes when you make this selection. Set the county to Wakulla and the coordinate system to FL83-NF. Click on the Create Open File button to create and open the new file. Once the new file is open, click on the Close button to close the Create File dialog box. Now click on the Home tab and open the References Tool dialog by clicking on the Attach Tools icon. Using the References dialog, attach the needed files from the roadway and survey project directories. In the roadway directory, attach the Align RD01, DSGN RD01, and the RWD TRD01 files. In the survey directory, attach the GDT RD01 and the SURV RD01 files. Close the References dialog. The example pond will be constructed in the area of proposed right-of-way to the right of State Road 61. Exercise 1.2. Create the PondCntl line. Use the Window Area View Control tool to zoom into the area of proposed right-of-way to the right of the roadway. using the OpenRoads modeling workflow. On the Home tab in the primary group, click on the Attach Tools icon. This will open the References dialog box. Now select the servrdo1.dgn reference file in the list and uncheck the display option to turn this file off for now. Close the References dialog box. Construction lines will be used to create the PondCntl line. Setting ORD to use the active feature definition will help make things a little more streamlined. Left-click on the Use Active Feature button. Now left-click on the Feature Definition dropdown. Expand the Linear folder, then the Roadway Design folder, followed by the Plan Profile 2D Lines folder, and the Construction Lines folder. Select Construction Lines red dash Feature Definition from the list. Under the Geometry tab, in the horizontal group, left-click on the Offsets and Tapers drop-down and select Single Offset Partial. This will bring up the Single Offset Partial dialog box. Check the box to lock the offset. Type 90 in the offset field and hit Enter on the keyboard. Now left-click on the center line of the roadway. Check the box to lock the start distance. Type 70440 in the start distance field and hit Enter on the keyboard. Now check the box to lock the end distance. Type 70860 in the end distance field and hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click in the name field and type PondCntl1 and hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click 3 times in the open to create the first PondCntl construction line. Change the offset value to -50 and hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click on the horizontal proposed right-of-way line. Type 16 in the start distance field and hit Enter on your keyboard. Type 420 in the end distance field and hit Enter on your keyboard. Change the name field to PondCntl2 and hit Enter on your keyboard. Now left-click in the open 3 times to create the second PondCntl construction line. Change the offset value to 50 and hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click on the diagonal proposed right-of-way line at the bottom of the 2 other PondCntl construction lines. Type 8 in the start distance field and hit Enter. Type 265 in the InDistance field and hit Enter on your keyboard. Change the name field to PondCntl3. And hit Enter. Now click 3 times in the Open to create the third PondCntl construction line. Under the Geometry tab in the horizontal group, left-click on the Arcs drop-down, and while hovering on the arc between elements, left-click on the Simple Arc tool. This will open the Simple Arc dialog box. Set the Trim Extend to both. Check the Radius box to lock the radius and type 25 in the field and hit Enter on the keyboard. Leave the loop box unchecked. Change the name field to PondCntl Arc 1. And hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click on the PondCntl1 line, and then left-click on the PondCntl2 line. Left-click 2 times in the middle of the proposed pond area to create the first arc. Change the name field to PondCntl Arc 2. And hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click on the PondCntl2 line, and then left-click on the PondCntl3 line. Left-click 2 times in the middle of the proposed pond area to create the second arc. Change the name field to PondCntl Arc 3 and hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click on the PondCntl3 line, and then left-click on the PondCntl 1 line. Left-click 2 times in the middle of the proposed pond area to create the third arc. Left-click on the Feature Definition drop-down. Collapse the Construction Lines folder. Expand the Ponds folder. Select PondCntl Feature Definition from the list. Under the Geometry tab in the horizontal group, left-click on Complex Geometry drop-down and left-click on Complex by Element. This will open the Create Complex by Element toolbox. Make the method automatic. Set the max gap to 0.01 and change the name to PondCntl. Now hit Enter on the keyboard. Left-click on the PondCntl1 construction line and left-click in the Open below the line to accept the new PondCntl complex element. Now hit the Escape key on the keyboard to terminate the command. Using the Element Selector tool, left-click on the green dashed Existing Ground Boundary element. Hover over the line to cause the pop-up menu to appear. Select the middle icon to set this as the active terrain model and left-click in the Open to clear the selection set. Using the Element Selector tool again, select the PondCntl shape. Hover over the selected shape and choose the second icon to open a profile model of the existing ground along the pond shape. Now click on the Open or Close a View button for View 4 and left-click inside the newly opened View 4 window. This will create a profile view of the existing ground surface along the PondCntl shape. Once again, left-click in the Open in View 1 to clear the selection set. Under the Geometry tab in the Vertical Group, left-click on Element Profiles drop-down and left-click on the Profile by Constant Elevation tool. This will open the Create Element by Elevation dialog box. Set the elevation to 33 and the name to PondCntl 1. With View 1 active, left-click on the PondCntl shape to select it and right-click in the Open to accept it. Now left-click one more time to create the new PondCntl profile. It will appear in the View 4 profile view as a flat line at the elevation of 33 feet. Hit the Escape key on the keyboard to exit this tool. With View 4 active and using the Element Selector tool, select the new PondCntl profile line. Now hover over the PondCntl profile line until the context menu pops up. Move the cursor to the second icon and hover over it to verify that it is the Clear Active Profile tool. If it is, then left-click in the Open to clear the selection set. If it is the Set as Active Profile tool, then left-click on the tool and then left-click in the Open to clear the selection set. Exercise 1.3. Place a PondDesign linear template. In preparation for the use of the PondDesign linear template in this exercise, it is necessary to verify the proper template library is available. To do this, choose the Corridors tab and in the Create Group, left-click on the Create Template tool. The Create Template Tool dialog box will open. On this dialog, left-click on the File menu and choose the Open option. This will open the Open File dialog box. Navigate to the Roadway folder of the current project folder and select the 220495550201 underbar CE.itl file. Now left-click on the Open button in the lower right corner of the dialog box. On the Create Template dialog box in the Template Library list, open the Linear Templates Common folder and double left-click on the PondDesign Linear Template. The current template field should now read PondDesign. Left-click on the Close button in the upper right corner of the dialog box. Now left-click on the Use Active Feature Definition button next to the Feature Definition drop-down to deactivate this setting. Change to the Model Detailing tab, and in the 3D Tools group, left-click on the Apply Linear Template tool. This opens the Apply Linear Template dialog box. On this dialog, make sure that only the Lock to Start, Lock to End, and Exterior Corner Sweep Angle checkboxes are checked. The exterior corner sweep angle should be set to 5 degrees, and the template should be set to linear template common / pond design. The feature definition dropdown should be set to final, and the name field should be set to PondCntl surf 1. Now left-click on the lower right corner of the PondCntl shape and left-click in the center of the PondCntl shape 6 times to apply the pond design linear template. Now hit the Escape key on your keyboard to close the tool. With View 1 active, right-click and hold until the pop-up menu appears. Hover over the View Control flyout and choose the Two Views Plan/3D option. Zoom the views so you get a better view of your work. Exercise 1.4. Manipulate pond dimensions and elevations. The example pond's fill slope extends too far and is encroaching on the proposed sidewalk. Fixing this will be simple and easy to do. First thing to do is to make it easier to see what can be changed by turning off the 3D view reference in the 2D view. Make sure that the 2D view, View 1, is the active view. Zoom to the side of the proposed roadway design that runs alongside the pond fill slope. There is a portion of the proposed sidewalk that is covered by the pond fill slope. Using the OpenRoads modeling workflow, under the Home tab in the Primary Group, left-click on the Attach Tools icon. This will open the References dialog box. Find the default 3D model reference and select it. Now just turn off the display by either removing the check mark under the display column or left-clicking on the display button in the bottom left corner of the dialog. Close the References dialog. Zoom View 1 out so the entire proposed pond is visible. Left-click on the PondCntl line to see all its parameters that can be changed in the 2D plan view. Dimensions, angles, bearings, offsets, and even the radius of the arcs can be manipulated in this view. Open and activate View 4, the profile view. This is the view that will be used to change the elevation of the PondCntl profile to fix the encroachment issue with the proposed sidewalk. Use the element selector to left-click on the PondCntl profile line. Once selected, there will be a value of 33 feet located near the center of the profile line. Left-click on the number and enter the change in the field provided next to the cursor. Type in 31 and hit the Enter key on the keyboard. The elevation of the PondCntl profile will update. Activate View 1, the 2D plan view, and reopen the References dialog box. Select the default 3D model reference. Now just turn on the display by either left-clicking to replace the check mark under the display column or left-clicking on the display button in the bottom left corner of the dialog. Close the References dialog box. The fill slope no longer encroaches on the proposed sidewalk. Exercise 1.5. Create a pond design surface. Using the OpenRoads modeling workflow, under the Terrain tab, in the Create group, left-click on the Additional Methods drop-down and select the Create Terrain Model from Design Meshes option. The Create Terrain Model from Design Meshes dialog opens. Set the Select Side of Closed Mesh drop-down to Top. Set the Design Surfaces Feature Definition drop-down to DTM Proposed Pond. Check on the Rule Exterior checkbox. Set the Exterior Feature Definition drop-down to No Feature Definition. Check on the Rule Void checkbox. Set the Void Feature Definition drop-down to PondCntl. Set the Void Minimum Area to 0. Left-click on the Fill Slope area of the proposed pond and then left-click in the Open 6 more times to complete the command. It will take a few seconds, but the new terrain element will appear, including a pond bottom that was not present before. Thank you for watching Pond Design and Plans Production Chapter 1. Please be sure to continue with the Chapter 2 video to learn more about the Stormwater Facilities Detail Sheet creation. Have a nice day.